hard part is you don't know what it's like until you are attacked. And that's part of the reason I would like some of the men from Silicon Valley.
Sobrang di ko pa mapaniwala. Maraming salamat sa suporta. Sana patuloy yung suporta niyo sa
Like, it was Facebook.
No, I mean, primarily Facebook,
Years ago.
but, you know, I
Yeah.
would say for 6 years, these are stats.
Stop scrolling. Because what just happened between a Nobel Peace Prize winner and a 19-year-old tennis sensation has changed the narrative of Filipino sports forever. This wasn't a press conference. This wasn't a polite congratulatory tweet. This was something deeper. Something emotional. Something that sent shockwaves from Manila to New York in a matter of minutes. Maria Ressa, the woman who stood eye to eye with power and refused to blink, broke down in tribute to Alex Eala. And when her voice trembled, the internet froze. Because when one warrior recognizes another, history listens. Welcome back to Champions Tennis, where we don't just report scores, we reveal moments that redefine legacies. And what you're about to witness isn't just another sports headline. It's the collision of courage and greatness. Two Filipinas. Two battlefields. One powerful connection that has the entire nation holding its breath. Just hours ago, social media erupted. Notifications exploded. Group chats went wild. Why? Because Maria Ressa didn't just praise Alex Eala, she honored her. She looked at this young tennis star and saw something far bigger than rankings or trophies. She saw representation. She saw resilience. She saw the Philippines rising. She is making the Philippines shine brilliantly, Ressa declared, her words echoing across platforms within seconds. But those 7 words were only the surface. What followed carried the weight of lived battles and hard-earned wisdom. This wasn't a celebrity shout-out. This was recognition from someone who understands pressure at a molecular level. Maria Ressa has faced legal persecution, global scrutiny, and relentless attacks for standing by the truth. So when she speaks about strength, she speaks from fire. And when she sees strength in someone else, the world pays attention. What she saw in Alex Eala wasn't just a promising athlete climbing the WTA rankings. She saw a young woman carrying an entire nation's expectations onto the court every single time she steps across that baseline. She saw the loneliness of international competition, the silent sacrifices, the brutal travel schedules, the quiet hotel rooms after heartbreaking losses. And she saw a fighter. Because let's be clear, Alex Eala's rise is not an accident. It is not luck. It is not a temporary surge. It is the result of years spent training far from home, sharpening her game in foreign academies, enduring setbacks that would have crushed lesser competitors. And now, she has climbed to world number 45. Read that again. Number 45 in the world. The highest-ranked Filipina in WTA history. That's not participation. That's domination of narrative. That's rewriting history. For decades, tennis has been controlled by powerhouse nations with deep infrastructure, elite funding, and generational pipelines. The Philippines was never supposed to break through that wall. But Alex didn't ask for permission. She stormed through it. Guadalajara was a statement. The US Open was an announcement. Abu Dhabi was a warning shot. And as 2026 unfolds, something feels different. There's a sharpened edge to her focus. A calm intensity. A presence that says she's no longer chasing the elite, she belongs among them. And this is exactly why Maria Ressa spoke now. Timing is everything. The pressure surrounding Alex has reached a new altitude. Every match is dissected. Every loss magnified. Every win celebrated like a national holiday. With greatness comes noise. Critics multiply. Expectations swell. Doubters lurk in comment sections waiting for the slightest stumble. Maria Ressa knows this battlefield. She has lived inside storms created to intimidate and silence. And in Alex, she sees another Filipina navigating global scrutiny with grace. But here's where the story shifts from emotional to monumental. Ressa didn't just offer praise. She offered perspective. She reportedly told Alex something profound, that as her star rises, so will the volume of distraction. The trolls will grow louder. The narratives will twist. The headlines will try to define her. But her truth, Ressa reminded her, lives on the court. Her racket is her voice. Her discipline is her defense. And that message landed differently because it came from someone who has survived relentless public attack. Think about the power of that exchange. A Nobel laureate telling a tennis star that her arena matters. That her presence is political in its own way. That every serve and every rally carries symbolism beyond sport. Representation is not accidental. It is felt. And when Alex walks onto a court in Doha or Paris or Melbourne, she carries more than a tennis bag. She carries visibility for millions of young Filipinos who have never seen themselves reflected in the upper tiers of global tennis. Maria Ressa understands representation because she embodies it in journalism. Alex Eala embodies it in sport. Different battlegrounds. Same fight. And that realization created something electric between them. This wasn't mentorship from afar. This was warrior-to-warrior acknowledgement. And the internet sensed it. That's why this moment spread like wildfire. Because deep down, people recognize authenticity. They recognize when respect is earned, not manufactured. And here's the question no one is asking yet. What does this mean for Alex moving forward? Because moments like this don't just inspire. They transform. When someone of Maria Ressa's stature looks you in the eye and says you are making your country shine, that doesn't add pressure. It adds fuel. And fuel changes trajectory. Alex is no longer just climbing rankings. She is stepping into legacy territory. The kind of territory where performances aren't just about points, they're about purpose. And if you think this is the peak of the story, think again. Because what happened after that conversation may be even more powerful. What Alex Eala did after that conversation is what separates rising stars from future legends. Because inspiration is easy to celebrate in the moment. The real question is what you do with it when the lights dim, when the applause fades, when you're alone again with your thoughts and your doubts. And according to those close to the situation, Alex didn't just thank Maria Ressa and move on. She internalized every word. She absorbed it. And then she made a promise that may define the rest of her career. This wasn't a promise about rankings or trophies. It wasn't about cracking the top 40 or chasing Grand Slam quarterfinals. It was something deeper. She vowed that every time she steps on court, she will play with intention far beyond herself. Not just to win. Not just to compete. But to represent. To inspire. To carry the flag with pride no matter the scoreboard. And if you followed Alex's journey closely, you know that representation has always been part of her DNA. From her early junior triumphs to her historic US Open run, she has spoken about wanting to bring honor to the Philippines. But insiders say something shifted in her tone after speaking with Ressa. There was gravity behind it. A quiet steel. A recognition that she is no longer just a promising athlete, she is becoming a symbol. Symbols are powerful. But they are also heavy. Because symbols don't get to have off days. They don't get anonymity. They don't get to disappear when criticism surges. And this is where Maria Ressa's mentorship becomes critical. She reportedly spoke to Alex about playing the long game. Not the 3-set match. Not the current season. The long game of legacy. The long game of staying grounded while the world tries to inflate you or tear you down. She warned that as Alex climbs higher, the narratives will get sharper. The praise will feel intoxicating. The criticism will feel personal. And neither can be allowed to control her center. Imagine hearing that from someone who has survived coordinated attacks, legal harassment, and global political storms. Imagine understanding that mental resilience is not optional. It is survival. Professional tennis is brutal in ways fans rarely see. Endless travel. Constant ranking pressure. The loneliness of hotel rooms in foreign cities. The psychological warfare of knowing one bad week can erase months of progress. The physical toll. The nagging injuries. The silent fear that one wrong step could change everything. And now layer on top of that the expectations of an entire nation watching your every move. That weight can crush. Unless you transform it into fuel. And that is exactly what Alex appears ready to do. Those who have watched her recent matches say there is a new composure in her body language. A steadiness between points. A refusal to spiral after unforced errors. It's subtle, but it's there. The kind of maturity that doesn't just come from practice courts, it comes from perspective. And perspective is what Maria Ressa delivered. Because Ressa understands something few athletes are told early enough. You cannot control the noise, but you can control your response. She reportedly told Alex that visibility invites attack. That success makes some people uncomfortable. That standing out guarantees scrutiny. But shrinking is never the answer. Holding your ground is. For Alex, holding her ground means trusting her training. Trusting the years spent away from home at international academies. Trusting the sacrifices her family made. Trusting the process that lifted her to world number 45, the highest ranking ever achieved by a Filipina in WTA history. That number is not random. It represents barrier breaking. It represents the dismantling of decades of invisibility in elite tennis. And here's what makes this chapter even more compelling. We are witnessing it in real time. This isn't a retrospective documentary about a retired legend. This is a story still unfolding. The next tournament matters. The next match matters. The next serve could shift history again. As Alex prepares for upcoming tournaments, momentum is on her side. But momentum is fragile. It demands discipline. It demands emotional control. And perhaps most importantly, it demands belief. The kind of belief that gets reinforced when a Nobel Peace Prize laureate looks at you and says you are shining for your country. There's something almost poetic about this alliance. Maria Ressa fights misinformation and defends truth on the global stage. Alex Eala fights for points and respect on the tennis court. Both operate under pressure. Both represent a nation that has often been underestimated. Both understand what it means to stand alone in high-stakes arenas. And that shared understanding forged a connection deeper than headlines can capture. But here's the strategic layer few are discussing. Moments like this create narrative armor. When critics question Alex, when social media storms brew, when inevitable setbacks occur, this exchange becomes a shield. Because she knows someone who has endured far worse believes in her strength. That knowledge recalibrates fear. It reframes failure. It turns setbacks into chapters instead of endings. And if you think the tennis world hasn't noticed this shift, think again. Analysts are beginning to speak about Alex differently. Not just as a talented baseliner with sharp footwork and intelligent court construction, but as a mentally evolving competitor. Someone who understands the psychological chess match within the sport. Someone who is no longer just reacting, but dictating. That transformation is subtle, but it's powerful. And it may be the missing piece that propels her into even higher territory. Top 40, top 30, perhaps beyond. Because rankings measure performance. But legacy measures impact. And impact is exactly what this moment with Maria Ressa has amplified. Still, the story doesn't end with mentorship. It evolves into responsibility. Because when you promise to inspire, you must deliver consistency. When you accept the role of symbol, you must embody it under pressure. And Alex knows this. Those close to her say she doesn't shy away from expectation. She leans into it. She trains harder. She studies opponents deeper. She sharpens the mental edge that separates contenders from champions. And yet, there is one looming factor that could test everything: the physical toll. Tennis is unforgiving on the body. Every sprint, every pivot, every slide stretches limits. Recently, whispers about strain and fatigue have surfaced. Minor concerns. Nothing dramatic. But enough to remind everyone that even warriors are human. Which raises the question that could shape the next chapter entirely. Can Alex maintain this upward surge while protecting her body from breakdown? Because resilience isn't just mental. It's physical. And the next phase of her career will demand balance between ambition and preservation. That balance may be her greatest challenge yet. But if there is one thing this moment with Maria Ressa proves, it's that Alex Eala does not walk alone. She walks with the weight of a nation, and the backing of one of its fiercest icons. And what happens next could elevate this story from inspiring to legendary. Here's the truth nobody says out loud. Greatness is never tested when everything is smooth. It is tested when the body aches, when the spotlight burns hotter than expected, when one simple question can expose vulnerability. And just as Alex Eala's ascent feels unstoppable, a moment of uncertainty slips into the narrative. A quiet but powerful reminder that even history makers are human. Recently, during a media interaction, a question cut through the usual celebration and analysis. It wasn't about rankings. It wasn't about Maria Ressa's tribute. It was direct. Personal. Can you give us an update on what you're feeling on your right leg? In elite tennis, that question carries weight. Because legs are livelihood. Movement is survival. Every explosive sprint, every defensive slide, every recovery step depends on physical precision. And when a player climbing toward the top begins to feel strain, the margin for error narrows instantly. But watch closely, because this is where character reveals itself. Alex didn't flinch. She didn't dramatize. She didn't dismiss it either. She acknowledged it with the calm honesty of someone who understands the long game. Minor discomfort. Monitored carefully. Managed professionally. No panic. No excuses. That composure matters. Because pressure in 2026 isn't just coming from opponents across the net. It's coming from expectation. From a nation dreaming bigger than ever before. From headlines declaring her arrival into the elite conversation. From analysts predicting top 30 breakthroughs. And now, layered into that momentum, is the reality of physical maintenance. Tennis seasons are relentless. Week after week. Surface after surface. Climate after climate. Recovery windows shrink. Travel intensifies. The body absorbs everything. And the difference between a rising star and a sustainable champion often comes down to one critical skill: knowing when to push and when to protect. Maria Ressa's earlier message about the long game suddenly feels prophetic. Because the long game isn't just mental resilience. It's physical discipline. It's trusting medical teams. It's resisting the temptation to overextend just to satisfy public hunger for immediate results. Alex's team understands this. Sources indicate her training load has been adjusted strategically. Recovery sessions extended. Preventative therapy prioritized. Not because she's fragile, but because she's valuable. You don't gamble with generational talent. And that is exactly what she has become. A generational shift in Filipino tennis. The first to break through barriers many thought immovable. World number 45 and climbing. Each tournament now carries dual narratives: performance and preservation. Can she keep winning? And can she stay healthy doing it? That tension adds drama to every upcoming match. But here's what makes this chapter powerful rather than alarming. Alex is not reacting emotionally. She is responding strategically. Champions aren't defined by the absence of setbacks. They are defined by their management of them. Look at every legend in tennis history. Injuries were part of the journey. Adjustments were necessary. Patience became weaponized. And if Alex navigates this phase intelligently, it won't slow her story, it will deepen it. Because resilience layered on top of representation creates something unstoppable. The symbolism of her rise now carries even greater gravity. She isn't just battling elite opponents. She's balancing ambition with sustainability. She's learning how to protect her future while chasing greatness. That maturity is rare at her age. And it's precisely why figures like Maria Ressa see something extraordinary in her. There is a discipline behind the drive. A steadiness behind the fire. And as tournaments approach, anticipation builds. Every draw reveal sparks national conversation. Every practice clip circulates online. Every update about her conditioning becomes headline material. This is what happens when an athlete transcends sport. She becomes a collective investment. But investment comes with volatility. One deep run could catapult her into the top 40. A breakthrough title could shift the entire Asian tennis landscape. Yet even if progress slows temporarily, the foundation remains solid. Because legacy is not built in one season. It is built in sustained evolution. And evolution is exactly what we are witnessing. The partnership, symbolic or otherwise, between Maria Ressa and Alex Eala represents something larger than mentorship. It represents continuity. One Filipina who fought on the battlefield of truth, passing perspective to another fighting on the court of global competition. Both understand scrutiny. Both understand isolation. Both understand what it means to stand alone while millions watch. That shared awareness is powerful armor. And armor matters when the climb steepens. The tennis establishment is watching closely now. Opponents no longer see her as a novelty. They prepare for her. They study her patterns. They respect her pace and tactical intelligence. The target on her back grows larger with each ranking jump. That's the price of relevance. But here's the strategic truth. Relevance is the gateway to influence. And influence is what changes history. Whether her right leg feels 100% or 92% on a given day, the mentality remains intact. Focused, measured, unapologetically ambitious. Because Alex understands something crucial. Moments of vulnerability do not erase momentum. They refine it. They force smarter decisions. They demand patience. They build endurance beyond muscle fibers. And if she emerges from this phase stronger, more balanced, more self-aware, the next surge could be even more explosive. The Philippines senses it. The tennis world senses it. We are not just watching matches anymore. We are watching construction. Construction of a career that could redefine what Filipino athletes believe is possible in global tennis. And perhaps years from now, when documentaries recount her journey, this chapter will be highlighted not as a scare, but as a turning point. The moment she chose sustainability over ego. Strategy over impulse. Longevity over hype. That is how legends are formed. Not through uninterrupted ascent, but through intelligent navigation of obstacles. So as she prepares for the next tournament, carrying the words of a Nobel laureate and the hopes of a nation, one thing is certain. This story is far from finished. The rankings will fluctuate. The body will need care. The noise will rise and fall. But the mission remains. To shine brilliantly, to represent fiercely, to play the long game. And if history has taught us anything about warriors, whether in journalism or on the tennis court, it's this. Those who endure with purpose don't just win matches. They redefine eras.